Cool. Everyone ready?
Yes! And those are the famous last words from a group of lads who are definitely not ready. Hello gamers, Editor Aiden here. Welcome back to the second part of our two-part Uprising spoiler series. During this part we'll be looking at the top 5 best cards and our favourite art cards from the set. If you missed part 1, you can check it out through our channel or the link in the description below. It's probably definitely maybe worth checking that little cheeky bad boy out. You know, we might talk about this cheeky fella, or maybe we'll talk about this little fella. Either way, thanks for watching, guys. Sub, like, live, love, laugh, and goodbye.
Okay, so yeah, that kind of rounds out top 5 most underwhelming for each of us.
Derobing.
Good. Oh, he's whoa. Goodbye,
Look at that.
Wizard Legendary.
Outfit change.
Yeah, on stream. Hello, demonetized. Cool. Yeah, let's jump into now kind of the intermediary segment of best art. So we've only chosen a single card for this, I believe, and again, just like the last one, we haven't seen each other's picks for this. But yeah, no, I feel like it kind of goes without saying before we get into this one that actually all of the art for this set has a place. And all of the artists done another fantastic job for this set. Yeah,
you're all winners, kids.
Maybe there's a hot take here and there about someone doesn't like certain art, Ash. But I feel like the artists have done a great job once again for this set. So yeah,
it's destroyed my theming, my immersion.
Do you think the Scar for a Scar artist gets paid every time the card gets printed?
That'd be really funny actually if they do.
It's like, please reprint it again.
What's quite interesting is the Scar for Scar art is really good, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's like one of your guys is just in here for the meme. Let's wait and see. So Aiden, kicking off with you, Frightmare. Who's surprised?
Frightmare, baby. I like. This took me like 0.1 second. I was like, it's Frightmare. And then Yendurai, the big forest dragon, snuck in my brain. And I was like, oh god, it's so close, but it's not. It's Frightmare. Like, this is so up my avenue of the sort of art style I love. Some of my favorite arts in Fab are Dread Triptych.
Yes,
like maybe Sting of Sorcery, like stuff like this is very horror-y, eldritch, and Frightmare is so perfect. It's got that the horror spawn horse. It's like berserk level horse. It's got like this headless. Yeah, it's got this like headless samurai, so it's like kind of on theming. Not really, they're trying, but it works. He's like an imperial, imperial samurai, headless with like wisps and smoke coming off his head.
Yep.
I have not slept since this card was spoiled. That's all.
Absolutely, the yellow eyes in the night of the horse.
Yeah.
So
it's something like actually terrifying about horses when you think about it.
Oh yeah,
actually being close to a horse.
They've got those like goat eyes, the soulless goat eyes, and the potential to like break your ribs.
If we didn't
just by moving,
if we did an introduction clip to our entire channel, I think there's something weird about horses should just be like that. Like, my god,
it makes you really think about the horse girls, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Next card, Yendurai. Aiden, you mentioned it. We went nuts about this card. I couldn't find the Marvel to send to Alice, but this card looks absolutely fantastic. One thing that obviously we mentioned when you were talking about some of the dog-tiered dragons is that the dragon art actually looks really good for a lot of them. There's one exception, I want to say, but I feel, well, it's just personal preference. I think one of the Legend Dragons doesn't look as great as it could have. Yes. I feel like it's still cool, but it doesn't fit as dragony as some of these.
I feel like for me, like some of the dragons are like fine, and like some of them look amazing. Like, I really like the legendary one from the promotional art that like breaks armor. I can't remember.
Yeah,
Tumulti.
Yeah, I think it looks amazing. It looks like one of the dragons from God of War on the PlayStation.
It does. Callum, let's jump into yours. Oh, okay.
Yeah, good choice.
Tiger Strike Shuko.
I just think it's like, obviously it's like pretty like
that cover looks so good.
Pick the legendary, do you know what I mean? But like at the same time, the art's so dynamic. Like the look of the the motion in the card and the like the reds and oranges just fits
the tattered cloth coming off the claw that he's recently struck.
Draconic like set. It just, you know, like if even though it's not a draconic ninja equipment, it's like you can tell this came out in Uprising. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it looks really incredible.
No, exactly. Let's see. Okay, so the other ones have not been included, but as you mentioned, these three kind of are our favourite best arts. We will link all of the artists' information in the comments if we can. But make sure you go and support all of the artists as well, because
Cheers, lads. Good drawings.
9 times out of 10, an artist actually is able to sell either art proofs, which are the card itself with a white back that they can sign or do a doodle on, and they sell like full prints that you can like display around the home in like canvas form. There's definitely a couple of cards which I want to get that done for.
A full print frightmare.
That would be amazing, wouldn't
right
it?
above
Honestly.
my bed.
The ceiling.
Jesus. It's like wake up like from a nightmare, just staring to that. I was like, am I still dreaming? What's going on?
LEDs and the horse's eyes.
Jesus, that'd be terrifying. But yeah, I feel like there's tons of stuff like that which you should definitely go support the artists, because of course they get paid to do the art, but there's other opportunities for them to be able to sell their art, and you should definitely go support them if you like the art. Okay, now this is where we get into the spice. This is where we've had our kind of hot takes in underwhelming cards, and now potentially even spicier takes in the best cards. These are the 5 cards that we think fundamentally are probably going to be included in every single deck, which they can be included in, and on paper should be really good. Let's jump into this one. Aiden, your top 5, well, your 5th best card.
Cinco.
Uprising.
Number 5 is Uprising. So... Yeah, so
Good
Uprising, I initially saw, when we first did the tier list, I gave this like a 10. I was like, this is like literally the best card in the set. And then I was like, no, it's not. Because the consistency of getting those 4 dragon attacks in to get the true value out of Uprising is difficult to achieve, I would expect. But it's very usable in both Phi and Dromai. In a Dromai go wide of Ash Wings, it's pretty good. But really where I think this excels, and obviously it's a red starter to get the dragons having go again.
0 cost. It's
right.
fucking
in
really
Dromai,
nice.
it just it ticks every box, and you definitely run it. In Phi, I think it's absolutely incredible. So the only issue I see with Uprising in Phi is drawing it on a mum trigger or something. You're like, oh, cheers, yeah, I'm going to break my combat chain for this. But if you set it up, it's amazing, because I think in most scenarios you're going to be ticking those draconic cards up from 3 to 4. So it's not just a 0 for 4 in those turns you set it up. It's a 0 for 1, 1, 1, 1, which it inherently is better anyway, because it's split damage, which is always better than tall damage in Fab, because it's hard to block. But not only is it 1, 1, 1, 1, it's going from 3 to 4 in most scenarios. 4, 4, 4, 4, getting those breakpoints in on a ninja that has mum. What? It's amazing. Yeah. The things that this card can do for Phi as a turn starter are incredible. It works in Phi, it works in Dromai. I think it's a fantastic card. And it blocks 3. Why not?
Buff Searing Emberblade as well.
Like, I think this is one of those cards that's like, it's like, I'd compare it to like Mordred Tide. You know what I mean? Like, it's like an amazing Arsenal card. Like you said, you draw it off Mom Trigger, you're almost like, yes, sick. My next turn's going to be as powerful as my turn just now has been. Like, I'm gonna put this in Arsenal. Hope it doesn't get frozen, but like I'm gonna put this in Arsenal, and then like I'm gonna have this like crazy 5-card hand with like my legendary equipment that's gonna be popping off as well. And yeah, this card seems absolutely bonkers to me.
This obviously Phi is good anyway, and we know that, and I feel like he's going to be definitely a force to reckon with. He's going to have a difficult matchup into those frostbite heroes, but you look at this card and then you realize why those gauntlets were banned, right? Stubby gauntlets were just removed. Stubby hammers.
Stubby hammers.
Because
Blitz only, baby.
Yeah. Wait,
what's a good
is it still in CC? Oh my god. Okay, yeah, he's that's actually.
I think like
really
the
good.
idea in Blitz is that you'd probably just die on the turn.
Like the value you're getting out of Stubbies is probably like 5, right, or 4 or 5, let's say, at the best, right? But even in Blitz, that's a quarter of their HP just from your glove equipment. Like, that's not okay.
But yeah, no, I don't disagree. I feel like this card's fantastic. Let's move on. Tomatai. I think this dragon is really, really good, and purely for the fact that, as Callum mentioned, there's going to be an opportunity for it to absolutely destroy equipment. It will ruin some decks. The first thing that pops to mind here, Tunic, in a Lexi matchup, and obviously New Horizon Lexi matchup. It will die. New Horizon will be killed by this at some point, and it will make my game specifically very, very hard. You will lose things like Techno Foundry
spoke
Heart,
about.
it would just go, and that is a huge loss for Dash. If this is going to be fitting into the deck, I feel like this, from a Dragon perspective, there are a few more staples which might be included in every single deck, but from a potential to be a dominant force, Tomotai just ticks all the boxes as this is going to be nuts.
I agree.
When this
completely.
card, there's a couple of decks that when this card is summoned, like I think you just lose the game. Like I
Yes.
genuinely think, like Finley was talking about it with me yesterday. Like this just auto kills Stormstriders and like Hat or Tunic or whatever. Like I don't know what you're supposed to do. Like I genuinely have.
Yeah, Tomotai, in my opinion, and he was my honourable mention. I felt like he was so good and so close that I had to mention him.
Yeah.
But the reason I didn't put him in was because he has this insane variance. If you draw him in your second turn and play him, he costs 5. It's not easy. And
Wow.
you manage to snipe someone's Tunic or Stormstriders or something like that in turn 2, they've probably lost the game.
They're starting the game with 3 pieces of equipment.
Is insane, right?
Yeah.
But if you draw him mid to late game, you're not getting much value out of it. Maybe you break a 2 block that they were going to block with anyway because it's the end of the game. They've had all this value out of their card until this point. End game is not great. If you don't reveal 2 reds or even 1 red, he's gone. He's wasted. I think his variance is so crazy that I haven't put him in.
Yeah, I haven't included him on my list because I'm concerned about the power of the, like we said, the expensive dragons. But at the same time, like yeah, this is really rough for like Crown of Seeds, Rampart of the Ramshead. There's just so many cards that this like are so good against that. I feel like when you have that like dream scenario that it happens, it's like
wow.
Yeah. If you're like turn 2 or turn 3 drawing and being able to play Tomotai, you're like, you've won the lottery, right? Like, and you managed to snipe their Crown of Seeds. The amount of value you've got out of getting rid of that on turn 2.
I don't know if there's like anything that exists in the game up until this point that feels like that big of a momentum advantage from such an early point in the game.
You saved yourself with early point in the game there, because I was about to say Awakening.
But even Awakening, like Tomotai removes like permanent board fixtures of like Crown of Seeds and Rampart of the Ram's Head that don't ever break unless like a card like this interacts with it. Like, and even there is the argument to be made that like equipment gets better and better as the game goes on if it's got a block value, and
that's exactly my point.
The activation time
in turn 2, destroying New Horizon isn't just destroying 2 block, it's destroying like 40 damage or something ridiculous, right? The second arrow or whatever's the second zone, right? 34 damage is excessive, but the point is like destroying it when they've already got all the value over the course of the game is like you are literally destroying Blade Break 2.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's fine. I think Tomatai's really cool.
Good
Callum,
choice, mate.
let's jump into your one. Erase Phase. Yes.
I'm not going to say I assume both of you have included this, but like I think with like we spoke about earlier, we now have like if you haven't like
no, it is good.
I'm like looking, like I said to you guys before, like it's I'm looking at this set from a perspective of someone who's not looking to make any of these 3 decks. So I'm almost looking at like some of the generics as like better than the rest of the set, not because they are, but because like I've not thought deeply into the synergy of all the decks, right? You will see that like I have got a few of the cards that fit specifically into the decks in, but like Erase Face, for example, is just like
it kills hero. Like, it kills so many turns.
It's like what was like I spoke about earlier about like having these good generic 6 power cards. Like it's good into a format where like there's synergy between like the classes and the talents and all this sort of stuff, but it's also just like super good into a format where Illusionist and Phantasm exists.
Yeah, 100%. I don't disagree. I feel like heroes like Dash just lose if this gets hit. Like there's nothing you can do for an entire turn.
The decks like you like surely this is played in like brutes and like
Levia and brute and stuff
like
that, right?
anti-meta like type decks that like are just gonna look at this card and be like, oh god, this feels like I'm playing 6 Command and Conquers. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't have the same effect, but it's like 6 cards that apply the same pressure, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. No, for sure. I expect this card to be quite expensive as well. I think this will probably end up being. I don't know if it will be I think it would very easily be between like the Art of War, East Strike range and the Command and Conquer range. We're looking probably about 45 to 50 quid for this card. Like,
Yeah, I'm not expecting
I put it
to
like
be like
30 odd, 20 to 30.
Yeah,
well,
I'm
that's
not
where
looking
Art of War
at
and
it
that sort of
to
stuff
be
is now, isn't it? So
anywhere near as expensive as what CNC was, right? Because
Oh,
you just
CNC
have
is
like,
nuts.
more product, more people playing the game, more people opening packs.
More people open it. No, you're completely right. But yeah, I feel like it's early on. This is going to be one of those cards that people are just hunting to be able to grab as soon as possible.
It isn't as good as CNC.
Oh no, it's not.
No.
But it's
Like,
it's
but
the easiest thing to compare it to, right?
What
It's a 2-cost with an on hit which has 6 attack. Like that is the easiest thing to be able to compare it to in the Majestic category. And yes, it's no CNC, but it's probably pretty close. It's
probably stop printing CNC quality cards as well.
yeah, it's not a bad shout. Cool.
Levia makes this 7 with Go Again with Shadow Puppetry as well, which is cracked.
Oh, no thank you. Levia, be gone. Brutes, stay dead. Cool. Aiden, speaking about Brutes, Dominia.
Speaking about Brutes.
So Dominia
Sounds
is my favourite of the 3 Legendary Dragons. It's as I said, Tumulti is pretty close. But I think Dominia is obviously fantastic. That effect is so good. I'm someone who's always valued like information. I ran Phantasmachasm in Prism, regardless of whether my deck could. That was before Everfest brought in the blue auras. My deck could barely afford the blues, and I was like, no, I'm running Phantasmachasm. Like being able to view your opponent's hand and know what they're going to do to you next turn if they don't block and stuff is so good. I think the value on information, and Dominia gives you that. And takes a card away from their hand. They are now a 3-int hero, which is just incredible.
A dull moment.
Obviously, yeah, which is amazing, and it's obviously when it attacks, right? So it doesn't even have to go through. It's just when it attacks, you get that information. You remove a card. Yeah, they pop it. Yeah, they kill it next turn. But you've had that incredible information, right? And it costs 4, which is like the most playable of the Legendary Dragons because it literally costs less. It's a blue pitch and a red card. You make an Ash. You play Dominia. Sorry, if you can keep Dominia alive, right? Well, you can't. I mean, you can't because it's such an essential threat for your opponent to remove. But if you view the hand and get rid of the tools,
with Dominia and like another attack that forces blocks or something, there might be a world in which you do keep this alive, right?
Yes,
which is why I think like there is the potential for like decks that play Romping Club to be reasonable, right? Because it kills it.
Yeah.
But like,
I think Brutes have a good time.
Functions as an opt as well, even if you look at your opponent's hand and you don't really see a lot, you know what you're about to draw as well. Like
that is the downside of Dominia specifically out of the 3 legendaries. Obviously they ascend in how many cards they reveal. With obviously the more you reveal, the greater the benefit. Like if you reveal 3 cards and you get 1 red, you still got an effect. Tumulti, if he reveals 1 red out of the 2, you still got an effect. Dominia, she reveals 1 blue, which is 1 in 4. You whiff and do nothing, and you've got like you paid for a 4/4. It's like whatever. But it's still like an incredible card. It's the best Legendary Dragon. I think like you'll maybe block with Optimi because you'll be like, I'm not getting Optimi out. You might block with Tumulti because you're like, it's near the end of the game. There's not much value on the equipment there. I don't think you'll ever block with Dominia. You always want to get it out. You'll always want to swing her in every single matchup. Amazing.
Are they all 3 block?
Yeah, all the invocations are 3 block, I believe.
The other consideration is that like you're not paying for a 4-cost attack action for 4, right? You're paying for an attack for 4, gain 4 life, and effectively attack for 4, gain 4 life, potentially attack for 4 again next turn, and you've got this like crazy effects as well.
I suppose if we went with the initial idea that we talked about earlier about doing a tier list, like there's a lot of these cards that would just be potentially in like this above S tier thing because they're essential for your deck, and if you want this deck to be able to do things, then you just need to play them. Dominia, I don't say feels that, but obviously the cards we're talking about, the more recent guys, Viscera, the other dragons for Dominia, for her to like Mirago and that sort of stuff. And sorry, I didn't mean Dominia, I meant Dromai. But yeah, like being able to play those cards, they are a essential requirement, and without them, your deck is not going to be as effective as it can be.
Sideboard out Mirago. If you were playing against a deck that literally you can't pop it, you literally know that they'll run maybe 3. You could probably side her out and not feel that bad.
But 9 times out of 10, you're running it, right?
Out Dominia. No. I think you're insane if you don't run or don't side out or do side out Dominia.
Yeah,
I feel the same about another dragon on the list.
We'll have a look in a moment. Well, my number 4, and in hindsight, maybe it's a little bit low. Is that all you got? I really like this card. I think this is awesome.
This is cool.
While defending an attack with 2 or less, when the combat chain closes, draw a card. 0 cost defense reaction. Yes, 9 times out of 10, a yellow block defense reaction is not what you want to be running, but it gives you that opportunity of playing a card for nothing. You get free block for free. You do not lose a card from your hand if you're blocking the right thing. You literally just draw it back. But I suppose then the argument there is that you have to block the right thing.
Well, I think this is probably one of the an argument to be made for one of the best sideboard cards added in the set.
Agree.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, there are
Good
some decks
description.
that will absolutely love this card. Like Bolton will love playing this card.
Yep.
During the Warriors probably love playing this card. Like, there's a lot of decks that are just like, yeah, I'd love to play a yellow cost defense reaction, even if it only blocks for 3. Like, there's probably decks out there that are like, I would play yellow Sink Below if it was like a little bit better, but this card is a little bit better than yellow Sink Below.
Yeah.
It's quite significantly better than yellow Sink Below.
Yeah.
So, I think in the right matchup, this card
the only
is
thing I say against the favour of that what you got is that it's actually more of a 0 for 2 because you need to be blocking something with 2 or less. So you're wasting that block 3. Obviously, in an emergency, you can block 3, and that's why it's good. But I think mostly you'll be wanting to block 2. But hey, that's still incredible. If you're against like a Rune Blade that you know is going to be swinging you for the 2 physical damage at every turn, you run this. You're blocking 2 for free and drawing card. You're recycling that. You're just blocking 2.
I feel like you've hit the nail on the head there. If you're playing into a Rune Blade, they are almost certainly playing Rosetta Thorn right now. I don't feel like that's going to be changing anytime soon because of how good Rosetta is. It comes in. Just
or even like Katsu as well.
Katsu as well.
Like,
just
I will block
Kodachi
Kodachi with this, and I will stop your Mum Trigger, and I will do it for free, and I will draw a card back. I haven't lost anything. Razor Reflex it if you want. Enjoy spending all that.
I've still exactly. Like that's fine with me. I really like this.
You can. How does Benji read? You can't block.
Can't block from hand. Right?
From hand, right?
Yeah, so you can play some Arsenal.
The Arsenal Spring Tidings.
Yes, yeah.
Oh.
That's tasty, isn't it?
Yeah, that's some value there, boys.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Takes it out of ancestral empowerment range and stuff like that to the point where I don't get my draw, but you can't push.
Still blocked. You can't push the rest of the turn through. Yeah, definitely. Callum, let's have a look at your number 4. Uprising. Well, I've seen this card before.
Good choice. Son.
We've spoken about Uprising already. I think. I don't think the card's cracked.
Fair enough. There we go.
Yeah, firm analysis.
Well, I said my piece on it when it came up.
Cool.
Before.
Aiden, Spreading Flames.
Spreading Flames, right? So this and Uprising are very similar in function to the point where they're basically the same thing. So this is kind of not super interesting. But I think if you are a Ninja player, which I was for a bit, I built a Katsu CC deck.
May it rest in peace.
Crapsu. I think you can see the value in this card in the sense that it does a very similar thing to Uprising, except it starts a combat chain or extends a chain link. It's not a bad mum draw. It kind of plugs some of the holes I had with Uprising in an attack action card. I think at its worst, because obviously you can expect to get the Phoenix Flame and then get the +1 from the Phoenix Flame. At its worst, it is a 1 for 4 split between 3 and 1 physical damage, which is the common rate for Ninja. It's a leg tap value, except it's draconic, so it extends the combat chain. But I think typically in a turn where you're popping off with Phi, this makes it's more like a 1 for 6 or 1 for 7. Probably equals the Uprising value whilst extending the chain link, plugging those holes, hitting those values of 3 to 4, etc. I just think it's a slightly better Uprising for Phi, and I thought Uprising is incredible. So these two cards are just phenomenal. I really think Phi is like this absolute demon. When I was doing my underwhelming cards, I couldn't think of a single Phi card that I was like, this disappoints me. I was like, they're all good.
Yeah, I don't think I had any of the Ninja.
No, yeah, exactly. And I think Spreading Flames and Uprising are really like the two zingers for me for Phi just being like, do what you want. I'm going to do the chain thing where I just come back for 1 million and it's all going to be awkward blocking points and I'm going to draw 6 cards and you're just going to die. Enjoy.
Yeah, so I tell a lie. I had that Tome of the Firebrand.
I had Phoenix form as well.
But at the same time,
sorry.
This does the opposite of what I was saying. My problem with those cards is this is not a non-attack action. This is
doesn't break the chain. Keep going
to the point
exactly
that you can't can't really brick if your deck's like that many attack actions. Do you know what I mean? And
Precisely. Yeah, I agree completely.
that
I
was
think
my
this is like
concern
this.
with the stuff like the Tome and Liquefy and all these
Yeah,
other like
yeah.
ninja like cards that like look really really good on paper, but maybe don't synergize quite with what the deck's trying
Exactly.
to
Like at its worst, it starts a combat chain, which Fi seems to struggle with. A lot of these cards, like if this is Draconic Chain Link 2 or it's Rupture at 4, whereas you can play Spring Flames Chain Link 1, and then get its effect stuck on the chain like a Chilling Ice Vein. It's
Yep.
just, it plugs every single hole I had with Uprising. And I only had like 2 anyway. It's in the list. Like Spreading Flames is just like Uprising on crack. So there it is.
Yeah, the card's really powerful.
Yep, don't disagree. Jump on to the next one. Crown of Providence. So this is where we differ. So when this first came out, I was probably the first person who said, probably quote, "This card is fucking shit." But the only reason it is, oh yeah, literally. And sometimes I was right, sometimes I was wrong. For this card, it is here for 2 reasons. One, cool, it's more block. I can't use it in Lexi. I will probably end up buying one for Dash because, hey, it gives me additional card in my hand and lets Dash go even harder. And that's the main reason it's here. It's nowhere near as good as Crown of Seeds, but it gives other classes the opportunity to be able to have those potential 5-card hands, which... maybe it's better in their hand than it is in their arsenal, but of course they are going to have that card in the arsenal. So there is an argument to say, yes, this isn't in the right spot. But my other reason why it's here, which wasn't a criteria we were talking about, this is going to lower the price of Arcanite Skullcap. And that means I can either buy a Skullcap or a Crown of Providence, and I'm going to not have to take out a mortgage for it.
The card itself is really, really good. I don't see a world in which like you ever... If you're like trying to decide between Skullcap and this, and you go to a pre-release and you pull this, there's no reason why you should ever have to buy a Skullcap.
No, fingers crossed for next week. I need a headpiece. My Dash.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think its power level is basically Skullcap. I think 8 times out of 10 this is more useful than Skullcap, but it's by like a decimal point.
Yeah.
Like it literally Skullcap's better against decks with lots of on hits and 4 break points, maybe against 5, for example. Crown of Providence is better in pretty much every other scenario. But there's such close power levels that who really cares? And they, like I said, they don't change the play style, so why would you go out of your way to play it? In fact, now I'm just ripping on it, even though it's in your top 5. So sorry.
No, it's absolutely fine. No, that's like I said. Like this was kind of a it's here for a reason because it doesn't fill a niche. There's already a card that exists for this. It's in here for mainly the second reason of I'm gonna be able to buy a fucking head legendary now for my other deck, and I'm happy with that one. Cool. Yeah, let's bounce to Callum's number 3, Frost Hex. Nice.
So haven't looked too much into Icelander and stuff like this. So this seems to be one of the cards that people are talking about. But also, like, what I was on the little research I've done, my concern with Icelander was that how does she kill people? Like, do you just run the game out? And if you do, like, she didn't strike me as having these like Oakenfold level threats that Oldhim did with this like fatiguey like long game control build. But I mean, this card, yeah, you just over the course of the game you're just gonna die.
And most heroes can't destroy it. There are 2 heroes in the game which can destroy Affliction Auras, and that is purely from Thor, and that's it. No one else can kill it. It's nuts.
This mother flipping card, man. I'll get around to this card later, because I have it too. But
very good.
Something ain't right about this card, son.
Yeah, I was like concerned that like Icelander might just like run the clock out, and if you have enough Arcane Barrier, you might be able to just like survive. But like with this card, I think you're dead. Like I don't see how like many decks can really survive. Like because what's this doing? It's basically forcing you to play into the frostbite, and there's not a lot of decks that can play into like 3 or 4.
Am I right in saying that this would stack as well? There's no limit of how much. Like you play 3, so a frostbite is dealing 3 arcane damage.
Yeah,
nuts, absolutely nuts. And there are going to be situations where maybe not all 3, but 2 come out, and then you're at the end of your turn, almost certainly, or like midway through the turn, having to deal with
this
all
card
of
does
this.
This card does absolutely
everything.
Yeah, it's blue
it's
pitch. Great. It's 3 block. It has like there's no downside to this card if you ask me.
I suppose
and added to the fact that like we've said, like you just said, I can't get rid of this card. Like
No.
I have no outplay to this card.
Mm.
Like there's absolutely nothing I can do about this card.
Well,
So,
the only thing you can do is breaking the frostbites and paying the additional cost to be able to break
Yeah,
them, and
but,
then you
like,
don't get the damage. But
doesn't-
it doesn't solve the
but
issue.
the card doesn't go away.
No,
Like,
the card
I
doesn't
pay
go away.
through the
No.
frostbite, but the card doesn't go away.
No,
So,
it's still there, and you're still then having to play around it for the rest of it. I completely agree. I think like we were all quite surprised that there was no way there was no generic way to be able to get rid of affliction auras.
Thor being like the tool to remove it for Draconic is a 2-cost card played in 2 incredibly red decks. Obviously, you'd sideboard more blues in to compensate.
You want to block
I still
that
could
card.
see hands. Yeah, but you can't block against a wizard.
Oh,
right? Depending on how they build, you pitch and then it's stuck in your deck, and that's not what you want it. So you're gonna have to play it out and attack. And Icelander won't make that easy for you. And there'll be loads of hands where you're like, oh my god, I can't play that. I can't get this card in my graveyard. So it's not like a solval. I think that again aids. I mean, Frost Hex is crazy.
Good card, very good card. Cool art as well. Really like that. And new auras, so new things for people to fucking deal with.
Afflictions as being this new card type seem maybe not all the way thought through quite yet.
Agreed.
To me. Like
I
maybe
feel like
the
a lot
next,
of this set is like Affliction's material allies. It's all prototype Necromancer, which I know myself and I know a lot of other people have really been anticipating since they announced it in the lore book. Loads of people were like, Necromancer.
Isn't this one of the things that got you into Fab is the fact that there was a potential for
I
Necromancer?
love Necromancers. I love a few Skelly boys, you know what I'm saying? So like everyone's really banking on Necro being fun. And I think like a lot of this is like a prototype for Necromancer. Maybe I'm too passionate about Necromancer, but I truly believe he's going to use material and afflictions and allies. So we'll see how it works.
All I'll say on this is like again why it's in my list is just that I think this potentially sets up for a potentially pretty boring format of like 3 viable heroes and like maybe one of the 2 draconic heroes just being worse than the other one anyway. So
we'll wait and see what it transpires into. But yeah, no, I agree. Aiden, your number 2. Oh, hello.
Kyloria, baby. This is my number 1 dragon. I think this is genuinely the best dragon in the set. So obviously its power level isn't maybe as good as Dominia, but it's not a legendary card. You have 3 of Kyloria. I believe that the 1-pitch dragons are generally a caliber above any of the other pitches. Maybe the 0-cost dragons are pretty amazing as well. But one cost dragons obviously is 1 red pitch, make Ash, make dragon. So there's not that much cost there. And Kyloria comes in as a 4 attack, 2 HP. You don't care about the HP. It has such a good on hit. It's like Dominia levels of on hit.
Yep.
This is something they're going to have an answer for in their turn or block out because you'll be drawing cards every turn and having that value. In Go Wide Dromai, it's insane. I don't think you ever want to sideboard this out because, like Dominia, it's just such a threat dragon. Your opponent loses choice here. It's like Plunder Run in a way. It's the Snatch Dragon, right? But it comes in and your opponent has to do something about it, or risk Dromai hopping off, as it were. And I think those are the dragons that you play. These are the dragons for Dominia and Kyloria. Sticking them on the field as best you can is why you play Dromai. Having this threat every turn, if you can keep him alive, of Kyloria coming in and being like, I will draw a card. If you let this 4 go through, I will draw a card. A Snatch that sticks on the field. Damn, all right.
Snatch is good enough already.
With Go again. Fair enough. A Snapdragon Snatch on the field. Like, obviously, 2 HP. It's fragile and there's no way to protect it, which is an issue with dragons. But
pistol.
Your opponent has to deal with it. It's like Vincerakai, we were saying, like, if you're playing as Guardian, they have to overuse resource. And it's the same thing for Kyloria, except he's leagues above Vincerakai.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because I just like the more you think about like the play style of Dromai and the play style of how you're going to have to play into her, Brute and like a couple of other classes look pretty good, but then they look absolutely terrible into Icelander. So I don't know. Like,
Dash is the one that comes to mind, like because she's going to be able to pop a lot of these low cost things. But the second she gets a frostbite, I mean, she had that issue into Lex, she had that issue into Olden.
Kyloria is also just a beautiful match.
Oh no, it is like that. Like the perfect target.
Your induction chamber, you pistol my dragon back. Like
I think
they both just counter each other.
There's potential for like these decks that can afford to play 9-12 defense reactions, right? With like your slower warrior decks or your dash control or something like that that can afford to just go, okay, I'll sink below this on your turn, and then on my turn I'm just going to swing pistol at it.
Potentially spicy one coming up from me. Eisenhower Wintervein. The next time you
hold on. I need to just read the card a little bit. I don't know. I haven't even looked at this card.
The next time you ice fuse this turn, create 4 frostbite tokens under target hero's control. Go again.
Number 2, guy.
Number 2. And purely because this is what I'm saying. This is really rogue. And this is my Lexi brain talking. I think 4 frostbites, basically, you don't need to do anything. I'm having enough arrows in my deck. I revert back to what my old Lexi deck was, which is just screw the Art of Wars, screw the Bolton shots, borderline. Like, I can just go ping into face, ping 4 frostbites, ping into face, ping 4 frostbites, and just keep doing this. I feel like it synergizes pretty damn well with the deck, so much so that these decks now, which are coming in and already existing, which they can't pay for this. You can't pay for 4 frostbites. What are you gonna do? You gain 4 frostbites and your turn is done. You somehow pop it, spending 5. Like, this card comes out and your opponent can do nothing. And you guys have been on the receiving end of frostbites, and you know how 1 and 2 are a pain in the ass. 4 ends your turn. What are you doing?
So what I'll say about Eisenhower Weathervane is I don't think it's bad. Uniquely in Olden, where with a Seismic Surge turn start, you can play this, fuse Oakenold, paying 1 blue pitch.
Yep.
Obviously ice fuse it or snow under, and then you're making like 4 frostbites on hit, make another frostbite, also it's coming in for 7. Like, that's pretty good, and it's an ice obviously action. You play the blue one though in Olden, and you can pitch it away for his ability. But I think in Lexi I was just like a write-off. I was like, there's no way you can pay 1
have a dream
and shoot an arrow and fuse this turn consistently.
The deck changes. There's enough ice cards in this set now, which I think the meta of Lexi, which of course Yuki over the last Pro Tour decided, and it basically changed the meta for the rest of the Lexi players, because it seems like if Yuki does something, Lexi players do something. And I tried it for ProQuest with the Art of Wars and like these 0 cost, low cost, just to be able to bean into opponent's face and go hyper aggro, because that's what the meta required. I feel like we're now going into a space where we are getting 2 new heroes, which are borderline going to be running redline decks, and they are not going to be able to keep up with how many frostbites, purely like Alexia and Oldhim, and even like Icelander as well, are going to be dishing out consistently.
What I'll say, this is my 2 cents on this card, right? I think
this is a hot take, by the way. I already know that.
I think there's diminishing returns playing the red, right? I think
blue is the one to play. I
get
blue's only 1.
If you were to make but if you flip it off Lexi, it's 2, right? Like,
so 4-3-1.
Sorry, no, it's 2-3-4. It's 2-3-4. My bad. So so 2's good.
I think from my perspective, right, the versatility of the card is pretty low at red. I think there's the dream scenario where you flip it up at the beginning of the turn with Lexi, you play it out, and you play like 2 arrows, and like you fuse them. That's pretty. That is disgusting. I will agree with you.
Rare though.
In those turns that you like draw this, and you draw like to like a 3 of a kind channel, like frigid, blah blah blah, whatever you want to say, and you rip no arrows and you feel bad and all this sort of stuff. Like, it's pretty rough. But if you play the blue of this, like, I can see that. Like, I think this is like
and
this is what better than some of the like the blue ice quakes maybe, or something like that, because it's like, it doesn't require you to hit, it just requires you to fuse, and if you fuse consistent enough, that's pretty nice.
Well, think about this now from an Iceland perspective then, because this is now another way for her to be able to consistently give opponents frostbites, because she has plenty of these new elemental wizard cards which need ice fuses, and then if she's doing this and then pinging some more damage at you, and then she goes, oh well, this creates 3 frostbites because it's my my elemental wizard attack, and I'm also making 4 because I fused it, so now you're coming in for this, and now frost hex has just done at least 8 damage in the next turn, or something along those lines. Yes, is it a spicy take to put it number 2 as best cards coming out the set? 100%. But I feel like there are potentials where this card is going to save Lexi when she is in a bad place.
You're a brave boy, Kyle.
I am.
I think as far as like putting it number 2 is like pretty nuts. But I think like there's an argument to be made that it is a...
Wait till you see one, mate.
It's an ice upgrade in Lexi. Like, it's like... And to be honest, I think it's like a pretty minor ice upgrade. Like,
I'll take what I can get. I can take what I can get.
If you're like fuse target, like ice cards, non-attack ice cards, I think it's like, maybe it's better than Winter's Bite, but there's a chance, or like Ice Quake, but there is also a chance that those cards just synergize better anyway.
Yeah. We'll wait and see. Like I said, as we said at the beginning of this, I haven't really done any like looking into what the deck would look like. I just feel like more ice cards are always good. Kind of annoyed we didn't get an ice tome, so like so you can just have another 3 of a kind or something like that. That would have been fucking busted.
We got
Yeah,
Tome Opus too. In fact, both the tomes appeared in our Underworld.
Yeah,
list,
great.
so
Yeah,
there you go.
literally. But I feel like
You can complain about drawing 2 3 of a kinds and 2 ice turns. So.
oh yeah, great, kill me.
Facts.
Cool. Well, let's move off my scathing hot take and onto Callum's second one, Thor. I'm not surprised to see this in this list.
Yeah, I at first like after what Aiden said about like it costing
Yeah, I'm a
2,
little
it has made me rethink the card a little bit. I hadn't really thought about it in that way, but at the same time, I think the versatility of the card plus it being like a
Stays in your
another-
sideboard. It needs to stay in your
another 6
sideboard.
attack.
It
Like,
needs to. It's like Mirror Guy for me.
yeah.
It's like
When
you
we
need this
talked
card to have a
about
chance.
when we talked about the like what the qualities of a card were going to be to make it into the top 5, it was like my thoughts were, what cards am I going to see the most like in this meta, like what
Yep.
cards, and I think this is like an auto include in the side.
Yeah, and it makes
both-
sense with
both
Frostex and then
Draconic
Thor, right?
decks.
It's like
Yeah.
hand in hand. If you see one, the other's going to be there.
Yeah.
When we initially saw this card, because this was one of the early cards that was released, and it wasn't even in like the pre-release season. It was when they first announced that Icelander and Uprising were coming out, and we saw this and we were like, oh, destroying one Frostbite, that's not that. It's not great. Like Ice Afflicts, surely there'd be another way to be able to destroy them. Surely there'd be another way to destroy them, and there's just not. And it's like, right. So this is the answer to Icelander,
This
and
is like a
it seems crazy. There's only one.
imagine the scenario where like you like have finally got your opportunity to have like a swing turn as Fi, and you're like going to come back into Icelander and like and she's frozen your Arsenal Uprising or something like that, and you're like, okay, I'll banish my Thor that's in the graveyard. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like potentially turn saving, game saving. Like yes, it might be hard to get out, but there might also be a turn where you're like right, I've been given 2 frostbites. I'm just gonna have an off turn, play this out, pitch the rest of my hand to play this out, and just to get it in the bin.
Does
and
Thor
Yeah, that's
destroy
what you
one
have to
Frostbite or all Frostbites?
target frostbite?
one.
Target Frost, because they're set. Yeah, okay.
You will. I think you will almost never ever use this for that effect. This will always
Yeah.
be for the ice afflict. I don't think you can afford to waste this on that when there's 3 frost hexes that you have to worry
Absolutely.
about.
Aiden, any thoughts on this one? Like anything that we haven't touched on?
No. My only thoughts are, like I said, that it is the answer required for the afflictions, which will lose you the game, especially in these red heavy decks. But it costs 2, and you have to play it because I'm assuming Icelander won't run attacks.
I suppose actually with Icelander, there's ways of you choosing to discard a card instead of paying the cost. Like the new crown, it's instead of paying 1, you discard 4. So there's opportunities
so-
now for these 2 Draconics to be like, oh, I'm not going to pay this.
yeah.
I'm just going to...
that's
that is like
If she
the
crowns
best
you,
way.
winner chicken dinner.
Exactly. And
You
maybe
have Thor in
actually,
hand.
maybe that then changes what Icelander does. She doesn't give the opponent opportunities to be able to get rid of Thor
precisely
and forces
that.
them
When
to do
we
that.
talk about the meta being unpredictable, I think I look at where the meta is going to settle, and I think if Thor removes the win con for Icelander, she will adjust, and she can adjust. Remove attack action cards, change her head pace. Jobs are good, and like I think that's where the meta would settle.
Yep.
Not
We'll have
giving.
to see if like
If it's
Thor
needed.
is like that broken of an answer to like, because I think like Frost Hex is like really crazy, but I also think that like she'll win games with other threats as well, right?
Yeah, I agree.
and like the Draconic decks might only see 1 or 2 of their Thors over the course of the game. I think the
you're right.
card's really crazy. I think like unfortunately it's the only option. So
So it would definitely be
Agreed.
played. Cool. Frostex, Aiden.
Oh god,
There it
it's
is.
unequivocally and comparably the best card in the set by like a quarter mile. I think this card is absolutely ridiculous. There's no tools to get rid of it except for 2 heroes, as we've discussed, and I pointed out like the difficulties of those heroes even playing around it.
Yep.
Like having 3 of these stacks and no way for most heroes in the game to deal with it is just insane. Any redline deck is going to die. Like I don't think it's too hard for Icelanders to give them amount of frostbites where they can't play a hand of all reds, and then
Yep.
they take like 12 arcane damage and lose. And what are they meant to do? You get in a situation where, like, you usually a plan for frostbites and getting rid of said frostbites is like you're like, well, I'm just going to block out this turn, and then the frostbites will pop. I'll pass easy.
Yep.
Now you're going to take 6 damage for that. And in Icelander, sure, you can pitch. Say like they have 3 frost hexes, you pitch against their spells, and you just take arcane damage at the end of your turn anyway, or you take their spell damage, and then on your turn you pitch against. Do you know what I mean? Like you're in this trap hole nightmare where you can't play the game. You cannot play the game, and you haven't got the tools to get rid of this.
You can't like Icelander. You can play out your turn into Icelander. Say it's like you went first as Icelander. You got this in Arsenal and pass turn, right? Like I'm playing whatever deck. I play my turn out. I've got no cards in hand, and then they play this out of Arsenal, creating a frostbite, right? Like now
it begins.
I've taken it straight away.
Like you're removing player agency. You're to the point where they have to think every turn, how am I going to get rid of these frostbites? So they're playing inefficiently. They can't set up. Sometimes they can't even play a turn because they have frostbites, and they're just going to take damage and lose.
I was wondering if there was I was wondering if there was a world in where like they play tested it and like Fi actually just like kills her before.
Oh yeah, no, this takes some setup. But Icelander wants to drag the game out, and I think that's her game plan, is to make games go on for a while. She's like, yeah, I'll frostbite you, frostbite. Like, I'll slow the game down, I'll freeze your Arsenal, I'll freeze your hero. I'll do everything to make the game go on for ages. While I'm doing that, I'm threatening,
3, 4,
and I'm
4,
setting
5.
up these afflictions that you cannot deal with. And like, if the answer is like, oh, I have to race her, how are you going to race into frostbites and like all this disruption?
Like frigid and
I genuinely think Frost is going to break the game. I think it's that much of the best card.
I'm struggling to see the answer myself.
I think, like I said, it counters the other 2 heroes perfectly as well. These like red heavy decks. Enjoy 3 frostbites and frost eggs, or like 4 frostbites.
I don't think like a deck becoming like a 30 blue card deck is the answer either, because like you said, you either pitch it to block the arcane damage of their weapon or their other spells, or you have to save your blues to pitch away to pay for a card for your frostbites, or you have to pitch them away at the end of your turn when you are being dealt arcane damage. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
it's exactly that. I genuinely, this card.
So this happens before your pitch goes to the bottom of your deck and you draw cards, I assume, at the beginning.
At the beginning of your own phase.
Yeah. So like, if I'm about to take 9 and I've got 3 blues in my hand, I can like pitch all 3 of them.
Yes,
like,
sure.
But what did I do in my turn? If that was
exactly that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's a world in which Prism can counter this, because obviously she gets the beneficial of like when auras are destroyed, she has that aura which is like auras you control when they're destroyed deal 1 to an opponent. So
Merciful
then maybe Merciful Ret. So it's now is the counter to Icelander Prism just beaning these out and stopping
Prism
stopping her
has
doing
an okay
that
matchup because Merciful Ret triggers on every frostbite. So you're like, I'll take 1, you take 1, except I have Spectral Shields. But like,
I'm copium here. I'm copium, by the way. I fully appreciate this isn't the solution. I'm just trying to think of.
You could play Briar or something. You're in trouble, right? You can't do anything if you're playing Briar. There's so many decks that just go, I can't do anything. If she gets Frost Hex is out, I lose the game, and that's just it. And the issue with Starvo was similar, right? Like if he casinos you probably just lose the game, and there's no fun there. There's no player agency. Everyone hated it, but there is counterplay against Starvo. You change your sideboard. You know, if they don't get the casino, you punish them. You know,
this
you might go
wizard action. What was it called? Rewind or whatever. That
Rewind,
negates on attack action. So that negates this, right? Because it's an affliction aura, but it's still a non-attack action.
Yeah, because it's ice withered action, so it's a non-attack
negate goes
action.
back to your hand, though. Right?
That's what I'm saying. Like, so you don't actually get rid of the threat; you stall the threat for a turn, right? And that's only in wizard, which is the class we're actually worried about anyway.
So I do think Prism has a pretty good matchup here. I don't think Prism's going to be around for very long though, because I think she has a good matchup into both Dromai and Icelander.
It's
on
crazy
top of
because
already being good. Like, she's not going to be here for very long.
I completely agree. I feel like she's going to be gone soon.
Parable into Fire seems like better than it has
God.
the other wider decks.
I mean,
they're doing a few attacks for 5 and stuff like that, right?
So,
they also have some attacks for 1.
Prism into Dromai is just like every single herald has its on hits. It goes into my soul is constantly fill up. Every protection makes a spectral shield. Every erudition draws me 2 cards. You know, she has a great matchup against
Dromai. No, actually no. Phantasm is non-illusionist, isn't it?
Yeah,
yes, so they can't. You can't pop each other.
Fucking mind.
You can't pop their heralds,
and you can't pop their dragons.
Yeah, and their spectral shields trade better to the ash rings, right?
Yeah.
It's just annoying.
Yeah, no. Certainly.
Frost Hex. Oh, what are you thinking, LSS?
Yeah, certainly an interesting one.
I wouldn't be surprised if this just breaks
and-
the meta and they have to ban it.
And to be honest with you, the way that we put this changes what mine is. And we'll touch on mine anyway, and we'll kind of go into why. Maybe not like. We'll look at it, and I want to get your guys' opinion. Combustion point. I think Route is an amazing card, and now Ninja has it. +1's cool. You just give yourself another win con. It's a 1 cost, which is part of the issue. But I feel like Route is such a big issue in when playing up against a warrior deck, and this is cheaper, and it does a very similar thing. And you are going to almost certainly have enough Draconi chain links to be able to play this into a card which would block pretty damn heavily. Sink Below. It counts as Sink Below if this is the 5th card. It's very versatile in this deck. However, with the discussion that we've just had about this fucking thing and the fact there's no answer, it's completely changed what my answer would be, and it would be Frost-X. So yeah, Aiden, I'm taking yours. However, I do still feel like Combustion Point... It is. I feel like Combustion Point does still belong in at least top 5 list. This card for Draconic Ninja, I think is almost going to be running every single day.
I think it's a strong choice. I think like when I was talking earlier about Uprising being a great card and then Searing Flames fixing those holes.
Yep.
It's a similar thing where Route is a great card, but it has a lot of holes, has a lot of issues. Yep. It costs 2, and it bounces back to they're not really losing much apart from you getting your own hit, but they get their card back. Combustion Point, they don't get the card back, and it costs 1.
And it buffs the attack.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, exactly. It's good. It's a better route. I'm not super overwhelmed just because of the fact that it does cost 1. It is conditional.
Yep.
Like you need to be able to reach Chainlink 4, right? Because it's
so Chainlink 4. So Chainlink 4 to be able to
So to really get value on it needs to be the 4th in the line, and you need to have a resource available at the 4th Chainlink to then play Combustion Point. But
which with the new legendary is going to be more likely than you think, right?
Yes, and again, if it's ensuring this Mum Trigger on top of this boosted route effect, it is a good card. It probably would make my top 5 best of the set because I think a lot of the time you draw it and go like, oh, but like it blocks 3, so use it as a block 3.
I think the highest value this card has is ensuring these like the Rupture keyword on hits and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, and Mum Triggers and stuff like that.
Really be used on like Rupture, right? Because
but it's also a game winner. It does the same thing that Route does.
Yeah, but like so does like Razor Reflex and Lightning Press and like, do you know what I mean? Like I get what you're saying, but like Route is like more often than not a swing of like 6 damage worth. This is this is 4, like, but Route doesn't really have a condition other than Reprise, right? But this doesn't work without Reprise. This could read Reprise and it would work the same way.
Yeah,
right?
It has to reach a chain link. Your opponent has to, want to block anyway. I think it needs to come to some hands with no outcome. I'd rather have like Tome, which we talked about earlier. I'd rather have Tome than Combustion Point, I think, in a hand. Because that relies on me.
Either way,
I think
I would change it. So it doesn't matter. I feel like this card has so much potential. Like it seems like Fire is going to be hitting those 4 chain links consistently. Like maybe not on turn 1, but Rupture's not
considered card effect if he wasn't.
No, exactly. It's going to be happening, and you're going to want to be playing in this. And the cards that are going to get blocked are the ones with Rupture and ones with those big on hit effects that you need to be like, oh, if this goes through, it's insane, and your opponent just goes, I have to block with like Sink Belows and that sort of stuff to be able to ensure this doesn't go through. Piece of armor, that sort of stuff, and then you just go boom +1
to read this card as a attack reaction, which is cost 1 for target Draconic or Ninja attack action card gains +4. Like that would be really good, but you wouldn't be going, this is the best card in the set.
Yeah,
because that's effectively what this card reads.
Well, this is +5, isn't it? But yes.
No, it's +4. Like what? Like
it's +1 and you banish a sink or like a fancy action.
If you high roll, like but like more often than not, you're banishing a 2 or 3 block card.
Yeah.
Like, so like, which is why I said,
expect out of this card, right? That's
why I said like this is what like actually a little bit more situational than Razor Reflex, and it doesn't even do that much more than what Razor Reflex does. But like obviously I think people will not play Razor Reflex over like Ancestral Empowerment and stuff like that. But if you want a damage swing attack reaction, I genuinely don't know if this makes the cut over Razor Reflex.
I feel like there's going to be so many opportunities where, yes, it can be situational, but I'll be very surprised if most FI decks aren't running at least 2 of these.
Yeah, I think it's another one of those game snatching cards where your opponent can't go like, oh, I'll just play around Combustion Point. Like, that requires so many resources that they have to go like, if he has it, he has it. And if you do, amazing, right? But unlike, I mean, in Dorinthia, she can search out route, right?
Yep.
Under the right circumstance. But I don't think Fi can search out Combustion Point. So if he finds it at the wrong time, it's like...
Still a red pitch, though, and
possible.
obviously
Yeah,
it activates a lot of stuff.
This is worse than
Yes.
Rain Razors. This is like, I don't know. I think like comparably, like, yeah, comparably, I don't see it. But I'm a bit of like a doubter on these like Draconic Ninja cards that aren't just attacks, right? Other than like Uprising, I think like I think you like risk a lot of consistency in your deck to just include like, I think if these decks start including like 3 Ancestral Empowerment, 3 of this, 3 Uprising, 3 Tomes, like,
Yeah.
plus, you know, we start getting
gets
like
too cumbersome,
15,
right?
18,
Hands become
20,
unplayable.
yeah, like 15,
And
18,
block
20
quite
cards that don't attack because people think that like they have this consistency with Phoenix Flame. And it's like, well, when you actually look at the deck, like the cards that get Phoenix Flame back are attack actions, right? Like most of them are like...
There's a couple of non-attack
from
actions.
the Flames or whatever it's called, Rise from the
But,
Ashes.
like, there's a lot that are like, if this is in Chainlink 2 or whatever, and you've got Phoenix Flame, and they, like, you know, I think, yeah, my only concern is like from a consistency standpoint, and yeah, it will snatch games, but for the games that, like, for every one game it snatches, there'll be like 5 games where you
That it doesn't.
and it's like, okay, or like,
Fair
you drew
enough.
it and you couldn't even play it.
So,
Yeah.
I suppose that brings us then to the final card,
I can't
Callum's
even remember
card.
what I did that one.
We've already seen Frost Hex from you, so I'm kind of surprised that we see this one.
Yeah.
Oh my
Christ's
Christ's
I
sake.
remember now. Yeah, I forgot.
Oh, reliable.
Yeah.
Card's
So,
good.
Scar for a Scar got number 1 in both my top 5 lists.
Oh, yeah.
So most underwhelming and probably the best card in this when you think about the overall game of Flesh and Blood. So yeah.
I
Obviously,
don't even think we can even
obviously-
argue with that because it is amazing.
Obviously Frost Hex is gonna probably break the meta, but I just thought it was funny to put Scar for a Scar and considered that it's probably been played like since the birth of Fab and will continue to be.
Yeah.
Well, pre-birth of Fab, wasn't it? If it was in the Ira Welcome Deck, that was was that pre-WTR technically? Like, in their very first event was the Ira Welcome Deck, like 1v1s and stuff. So,
Yeah, Scar is a pillar of Fab.
literally, it's
and
nuts.
Icelander
I love that.
can play this turn 1 with Go again because she's got this help.
There we go. Honestly, Wizards stay winning. Come on.
There you go. That's my number 1 best card of the set.
Truly
Better
excellent stuff.
Better than Erase Face. Better than Frost Hex.
There we go. Well, that is it then, guys. I mean, it's been a long old first video, and thank you very much for
my
you
God, it's
guys for sticking around.
Massive legends.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I talk for all of us when I say we're all really excited for Uprising. It's more Flesh and Blood. Get in. We've got
Yes.
pre-release
You know what's gonna
coming
be,
up as well.
Super epic is like in mine and Cannon's backgrounds we have blinds and curtains. So when they start the video, it's gonna be like broad daylight, it's super sunny, you can barely see me. And then like now it's pitch black outside. Like how long have they been there?
We've been recording for 2 hours. I don't know if this video is going to be 2 hours. We'll wait and see. There was a lot of discussion points, and it'd be weird to take out some of those. But if you guys are still watching this, thanks.
You guys are incredible.
But yeah, this is it's been really fun.
Guys.
This game's gone on nearly as long as an Icelander game.
Yeah, there we go. 55 minutes.
Standard Odin match. Odin versus Icelander, imagine.
Oh no, Jesus!
No, you
Christ.
can't play the game. No, you can't play the game. No, you.
Oh my God, it's absolutely insane. Guys, thank you very much for watching. More content coming soon. This is the first of many. Not sure what that content looks like yet. Is it more of this? Is it more of just gameplay? Who knows? We all like playing Flesh and Blood.
Oh, we should upload some TTS gameplay videos.
We should do.
That'd be fun.
And just like make some absolute meme decks
Oops,
sometimes
all
and do
dragons.
some.
Ghost bonk.
I'd like to see it. I'd like to see what it looks like. But yeah, so guys, thank you very much for watching. We'll be putting up more content soon. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. We'll chuck our Instagram down below as well, so expect some photos of some of the pulls we make from our Uprising boosters. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be at least streaming my booster box opening. I'm sure we can snag one of Aiden's into the stream as well. So there'll be some card opening content for you guys to digest as well. Can't wait to pull the Fabled.
Can't wait to pull Silver Palm somehow. They got it wrong. They say the MFS patch.
This isn't Scar for a Scar. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. We'll catch you all soon.
Guys.
Oh, yeah, literally. Peace, guys. Have a nice night.
See you later, fellas.